I'm Garrett Ryan, and this is Told in Stone. Millions of Roman tombs, from simple stelae to magnificent mausolea, bore epitaphs recording the names and careers of their owners. In a world where ordinary people seldom entered the historical record, these provide a unique window into life and death in ancient Rome. Not all Romans could afford a tomb. The poor were often buried in reused vases or beneath loose tiles, with a wooden post or nothing at all to indicate the place. For centuries, a potter's field sprawled just outside one of Rome's gates, tangled with weeds and white with bones. Even within the affluent families who were most likely to build tombs, patterns of commemoration varied. The graves of infants and young children, especially girls, were frequently left unmarked. Women who died soon after marriage, by contrast, were exceptionally likely to receive a monument. Freedmen, eager to demonstrate their status, commissioned tombs more often than the freeborn. Soldiers and veterans are better attested than civilians. The most common form of tomb in the Roman world was an upright stone slab. Styles, however, varied widely with place and period. Barrel-shaped stelae, for example, often marked tombs in Mauritania, while sculptures of bulls and bears were common across the Strait of Gibraltar in Lusitania. Through the 2nd century, cremation was standard in Italy and the western provinces, and urns containing the ashes of the dead were often placed in small funerary altars or the niches of a columbarium. As inhumation became more common, sarcophagi were increasingly prominent, either as standalone monuments or elements of a larger tomb. Both before and after the transition to inhumation, wealthier Romans were often buried in mausoleums. The most common type, well represented in the Vatican necropolis under St. Peter's Basilica, was a small rectangular structure with a vaulted ceiling, sometimes surrounded by a courtyard. Some mausoleums took the form of stylized temples, like the Tomb of the Julii at Glanum or the Tomb of Lucius Publicius at Cologne. Others were more idiosyncratic, like the Pyramid of Cestius, or the vast Etruscan-style rotundas of Caecilia Metella and the Emperor Augustus. In Italy and the western provinces, our focus here, epitaphs were usually in Latin, with a Greek minority in the city of Rome and around the Bay of Naples. The one indispensable element was the name of the deceased. Age at death was frequently recorded. Though sometimes given in years, months, and even days, this was more often an approximation, rounded to the nearest multiple of 5 or 10 years, and sometimes qualified with the phrase plus minus, more or less. Before the empire became Christian, the date of death was almost never given. From the 1st century onward, epitaphs often began with the abbreviation DM, dis manibus, to the spirits of the departed. The name of the person who had set up the tomb might be recorded. So might the native place of the deceased, their lineage, and their occupation. Selections from the departed's will were sometimes inscribed, along with such practical details as the size of the tomb plot and the fines that would be levied against anyone who disturbed or defaced the monument. The epitaph sometimes ended with the formula, Sit tibi terra levis, may the earth lie lightly upon you, or the less evocative abbreviation, HMHNS, hoc monumentum heredibus non sequetur, this monument will not pass to my heirs. Despite their lapidary nature, epitaphs are a treasure trove of historical information. They record careers, for example, that seldom appear in literary sources. We encounter slaughterers of sacrificial animals, aqueduct engineers, oracle interpreters, and professional fanatics who specialized in exciting the crowds at sacred rituals. One man is described as a medicus aquarius et venator, that is, a gladiator with a side hustle as a veterinarian. Another is commemorated as a juggler of glass balls in the baths. A former farm laborer celebrates his rise to city councilor. a former slave born in distant Parthia, records how he gained his freedom. Epitaphs provide insight into the intricacies of the imperial household, which was run by thousands of slaves and freedmen. A high-ranking slave accountant of Tiberius, for example, had a tomb set up by 16 of his own slaves, who had jobs ranging from secretary to silver steward. Alongside a manager of inheritances received by the emperor and a librarian of the imperial collections, we find Dorcas the hairdresser, Kia the masseuse, Titus Primitivus, master chef, and Tiberius Claudius Zosimus, supervisor of food tasters. Epitaphs also shed light on the careers of soldiers. Some were tragically short, like that of a teenager who joined the Praetorian Guard and died while accompanying Hadrian on his travels. On the opposite extreme was the grizzled centurion who recorded that he had served with 13 legions over the course of 46 years. One detailed inscription records every position that a legionary ever held, including stints as a hospital orderly, prison guard, clerk, and record keeper. Another boasts that Serranus, best and bravest of the Batavian horse guard, could swim across the Danube in full armor, and was such a fast shot that he could transfix one of his own arrows while it was still falling to the ground. Although inscriptions record careers ranging from fishmonger to silk merchant, women were usually remembered as wives and mothers. One grieving husband recorded that he had lived with his wife for 40 years, without any cause for complaint. A senator praised his better half for saving him during the proscriptions of the Second Triumvirate. A less conventional eulogy hailed a woman who had lived in apparent harmony with 2 male lovers. Occasionally, epitaphs note the cause of death. A soldier died heroically while fighting a fire. A mosaicist fell off his ladder. A boxer died in the ring. A wife was murdered by her husband after 28 years of marriage. A boy was poisoned by his stepmother. Perhaps the most evocative Roman epitaphs are those written in the voice of the deceased. Some are curses against anyone who disturbs the tomb. May anyone who defecates here be blinded. Or, more creatively, if anyone disturbs my remains, may he live a long time in agony, and then be denied by the gods below when he dies. Others are more plaintive. I raise my hands against the God who carried my life away. Resignation is a common theme. I was not, I was. I am not, I care not. So is Epicurean indulgence. Mix the wine, wear garlands, and drink wherever you are. And don't forget to make love to beautiful women. There are occasional stabs at humor, like the actor who recorded, I used to die on stage, but never like this. And there are, finally, expressions of grief that cut across the gulf of 2,000 years, like the epitaph written by a plasterer named Pompeius Catusa for his wife. Go visit the baths of Apollo, as I used to with my wife. I wish I still could. To learn more about one of the most fascinating Roman tombstones, which records the brilliant life and tragic death of the boy poet, Quintus Sulpicius Maximus, follow the link on screen and in the description to the new Artifact of the Month video, just posted on Tombstone Footnotes. You'll find more new content, including my recent review of the movie Caligula, on Patreon, also linked below. Don't forget, finally, about my travel channel, Scenic Routes to the Past, where you'll find several new videos. Thanks for watching.